Hi, welcome to week 6. So now you've had the daily improvement log for a week. So how's it been going for you? So this week we're going to look at the daily improvement log in a little more detail. We're going to start getting into the roadmap to Masterclass in a little more detail. Take a closer look again at the to-do list and bringing that back into the daily improvement log. And just looking at a few more tweaks and fine-tunings. Okay, so let's give it a go. So we'll start off with the roadmap to Masterclass tab. And I've just put in a very quick activity here, just one activity, just to give you a further demonstration of utilizing the 10 steps. And the 10 steps, you can get them here on the reference sheet, and you scroll down and you can see them here. So again, it's very quickly, suitable worthy mentors, the role models, get them in there, and this is developing your roadmap to Masterclass, okay, based on what's been working for you, strip out what hasn't been working, and take lessons and ingredients from what has worked for your role models. And on a daily basis, we'll have a quick review and we'll tweak it where required, and we'll reset, we'll refocus when we're practicing, just to improve our getting into the flow on a more regular basis and staying focused on the process, okay, so we can increase our creativity and our productivity rate, okay. So going back again, taking that in mind, okay, so this person wants to achieve the level of master craftsman, can be a man or a woman. They've put in their worthy mentor, their role models. They've put in their experience, what has worked for them so far. They're well respected among their peers. They work for a good company who promotes and encourages development, which is great. And the next steps, based on the 10 steps, is eliminate any bad habits they might have with neuroplasticity. Okay, so you find an alternative to that bad habit, and in terms of a good habit, and you repeat, and over time that will become committed to muscle memory and your subconscious, okay? So repetition. And again, reset and refocus before starting anything, and work within the uninterrupted 90-minute ultradian rhythms, okay? They've also committed to taking on side projects regularly that push their boundaries and help further develop and hone new skills. That's important. It's all about stepping forward into growth continuously at a nice steady pace, 4 to 5% on a regular basis, like maybe weekly, whatever feels right. And visualize vividly having the ability now of the master craftsman that this person is trained under and their role models, okay? And let the creativity flow by getting out of the way. Remember, getting out of that prefrontal cortex, getting the whole body intelligence going with the reset and refocus, and staying within the 90-minute cycles, okay? And especially the first 3 cycles that works best for you with your experience with the daily improvement log, okay? Moving on to the to-do list. So the to-do list it can be a blank canvas. Last week we looked at typical things that a person would need to do, and they will basically rate in terms of what's very important, very urgent, and coming up with the right priorities for them for that over the course of that week, okay? But sometimes your to-do list might have a logical sequence. In this case, this example here is this person's got to deliver a project over the course of a week. Okay, so the logical steps would be produce design for the project, create a plan and a schedule for the project, agree the design and methodology with the client, and order the materials, and then deliver the project itself. Okay, so you have 5 days to do this. Okay, so you can still apply the very important, very urgent. They're all very important, but the urgency will change and diminish based on what needs to happen first. Okay, so we can see here, produce design for project A is very urgent, gives us a 16. And again, working down through that, create a plan for the schedule will come after that, so that's a 3. And agree the design and methodology with the client will come after that very quickly, is a 3 again. Order materials is a 2, that will come after that. And build a project is a 1. Okay, so this is in terms of urgency, but they're all very important. Okay, so that gives us a 16, 12, 12, 8 and 4. So you can see it's a logical sequence. Okay, so next steps are built in there. Arrange a meeting to discuss the requirements with the client. Put a draft plan together once requirements are agreed. Arrange a meeting with the client to review, make any changes and reissue stamped approved. Get quotations in from 3 suppliers and check best availability. And stick to the plan and schedule and avoid further client changes where possible to avoid impact to schedule and costs. So that's just a very high level to-do list, okay? So we bring that into the start of our week. So this person can, assuming that they're going to work these hours and they're going to work within these ultradian rhythms, including having an ultradian rhythm 7 for themselves in the evenings, and they can basically input in, and I've taken the numbers out, you might have seen the numbers last week. Sometimes it works best without the numbers. It's easier just to drop something in there. So if we look at what the first thing on the to-do list is in logical sequence, is produce the design for project A, and the first step on that is arrange a meeting to discuss the requirements with the client. So straight away in there is call the client and arrange the meeting, okay? And maybe you might be lucky enough that later on the day the client has said, okay, yeah, I can meet you at 11 o'clock, okay? Meet the client, okay? And then you might get back to your place of work at maybe 2:30, so you can start working through putting the plan together, okay? The draft plan, okay? So we'll say here, okay? So I'm just giving you examples of, based on logic and sequence, how you can drop in the relevant activities within the ultradian rhythm. So don't forget, as you're completing the task, just strike it through. Okay. Now, just another thing I wanted to point out is sometimes you might find it easier to do it on the fly like this. So rather than planning out your whole day or your whole week, once you have your to-do list done out and the priority ratings complete and your next steps in there at a high level, by reviewing this every morning, or maybe before you leave work, review it for the next day, which is even more effective. And then when you come in, you can just basically develop that into smaller sub goals. So you can come in and you can start dropping them in there. But if you line up your whole day, what tends to happen is if you miss some of these, the whole thing gets out of kilter and you can get overwhelmed if you're not careful. So it's basically whatever works best for you. So if it's a case of like this here, you can see a logical sequence, get them in there, and then start adding in just before the next ultradian rhythm. So when you finish this ultradian rhythm 1 and you're putting in your percentages, I was say 90% in flow, and I was very focused on the process. It was 90%. It was a good meeting with the client. Mood was pretty good, and energy level was high. It's very often when we're achieving things, we'll get good hits of dopamine and endorphins and serotonins. FLOW had a healthy breakfast. I won't put any detail in there, but just in terms of the refuel log, the more detail you can put in there, like I normally will break that down into exactly what I had: blueberries, apples, bananas, oats, almond milk. Because if there's something in there that doesn't agree with me or causes an energy slump, I won't know about it unless I put more detail in there. So if I keep it too sparse, I'm not going to know about it. So you're better off fill in as much detail in the refuel log as you can, and this will help us to fine tune in more detail. Okay. So again, once we finish that 90-minute cycle, to plan the next one, you can do it just in advance of it. So you can have a look, okay, I've had the meeting with the client, and I might have to make a few phone calls before I even put the plan together, because I may need some assistance from other craftsmen, and I may need to check their availability or so forth. So call subcontractors. Okay. And remember, always strike them through to get the hit of dopamine. Okay. And at the end of each ultradian rhythm, remember to put in your percentages. And before you start the next one, the all important reset, refocus, and refuel. Okay. And the journal, I will get into the journal as early as possible in the morning before you even start work. I'd get, put as much detail in there about the quality of sleep. Again, like the refueling log, the more detail you put in there, the more you can fine tune this process. If you keep it sparse, you won't be able to fine tune. Okay. So as much detail in there about your preparation, about if your mind was calm the night before, or if maybe you watched a movie late, the impact that had. Be open and honest with yourself, and Put as much detail in there as you can. That's the only way of fine-tuning effectively. Okay. Same morning routine. Try and get into the flow of the morning routine so you can be very efficient with its delivery and get the desired output from it. Okay. Again, aware of thoughts, feelings, moods, emotions, reactions, etc. These will get in the way of your productivity and your creativity if you don't deal with them. Okay. You need to be aware of them. You don't need to grab at them or push them away, but you certainly need to be aware of them, because very often an emotion is telling you something. So by just being aware and writing them down sometimes is enough for you to move on and not let it become a distraction or an interference. Again, any intuitive niggles when you're in this coherent state. We covered the roadmap to Masterclass. I would just put down reviewed and note if you did any tweaks. High level to-do list, reviewed and transferred. And again, dealing with challenges effectively. This is a great tool. And we've gone through it last week. I won't go through it in too much detail here, but we'll touch base on it again next week. But just use it over the course of your, hopefully won't have too many challenges. But the more you use this effectively, the more it becomes the way you do business, okay? You recognize the challenge early and you avoid going down the incoherence route and you stay on the coherence route, okay? And you'll find yourself, when you're calm, collect and measured, you'll come up with the best solutions to your challenges, okay? And remember, the big lessons and opportunities, get them in there, and the best next steps and fine tuning, and transfer them across. Once you've got your average flow percentage and your average sanction percentage for the day, remember how you add them up. So it's just to give you a quick demonstration again. You can actually add these up over the course of the day. I very often will do that. So to see where I'm going, I want to check and see what's my average in flow. So remember, go down here and change the sum to average, and you can see I'm 87. Okay, so I'm happy with that. But if this was, say, 65 and this was 70, well, I can see quite easily that I'm well below the 75. So I can see, okay, I need to do something about it without putting yourself under pressure or getting overwhelmed. You can see that you need to improve over the course of the day to meet your 75 target. Okay, and again, when you have these in there, you bring them into the lessons, the next steps, the roundup. Okay, so you're putting in your lessons learned and your next steps and fine-tuning and your percentages. And again, over the course of the week, you can see, say, 67, 85, 85, 70. You can do the same exercise again. You can check and see where you're at, okay? You don't have to wait till you get to the end of the week. Sometimes you might have to up your game to hit your 75. Remember, every week we want to increase that by 5%. Now, increasing 75 by 5% is not necessarily 80%, but it's not far off it, so you could just add 5% to it, okay? Or whatever is comfortable. So that's it for this week. So again, over the course of the next week, just continue on with your daily improvement log. Try and do it as many days as you can without putting yourself under too much strain or pressure, or don't get overwhelmed. And try and fit as many ultradian rhythms in comfortably over the course of your day. If that's 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever that is. And as the weeks go on, we'll start to increase the ultradian rhythm numbers in there if we can. And maybe even increase, you might want to start off with 5 days and maybe increase it to 6, or maybe you want to keep the weekends completely free. But just one caveat with that: if you step out of your rhythm dramatically on a weekend, you're going to feel fatigued, okay? It's going to work against you. So it's best to try and stick with the pattern, stick with your getting up at a certain time, or staying within a half an hour of that, and taking a nap later on. Take a power nap for 10 minutes if you feel tired later on. But if you sleep on for an hour or 2 hours later than you ordinarily get up, what's going to happen is you're going to feel that, okay? So again, your to-do list is king. Keep fine-tuning that. Your roadmap to Masterclass, just keep an eye on that. Keep fine-tuning it. Plan, monitor, and fine-tune. And just watch your percentages in terms of flow and sanction, in terms of staying focused on the process. And again, it's a steady rate, steady increase of 4 to 5% every week if it feels comfortable, if it feels right, okay? And we'll pick it up again next week. Have a good week.